What is up, everyone? Welcome to Dead with My Friends podcast. As always, I am your co-host, Steve.
And I'm your co-host, Nick.
And on this episode, which is episode 34, we will be talking about the 2015 found footage Halloween horror film, Hell House LLC. So, Nick, long time no see, my brother.
Sort of, yeah.
It's been,
few
been a
hours.
couple of hours. Yeah, a few hours. Last
like 12
night.
hours.
Yeah, I'd say. Last night, actually, we got home like maybe 12 hours ago.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
like right before 2 a.m. But anyways, last night, we were down in the city to see Under Oath for their 20-year anniversary of their Only Chasing Safety album. They played with Static Dress. One hell of a performance. I am so happy that I finally got to see Under Oath. I'm not really a fan of like their like albums that have come out during their comeback, but like classic Under Oath from the Dallas Taylor era all the way up to Lost in the Sound of Separation, like that shit all day, can listen to anytime.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. They're trying new things with their new sound. They played one encore song, so it was the first song that, bridged the Only Chasing Safety, the end of them playing that to their encore set. And I have no fucking idea what that song was. I'd never heard it I've never heard it before. I wasn't about it, but
no, I knew right then and there. I was like, okay, it's time for a piss break.
Yeah. It was great. Unfortunately, we were only able to catch one song by Static Dress. The fucking
two songs, but yeah, the traffic was insane. Getting onto George Washington Bridge is always a fucking pain in the ass. And plus, it was at the Palladium right in Times Square. So not only do you have normal city traffic, we were right there in Times Square. Like literally you could look over, there's where the ball drops, there's where it was just insane. Absolute insanity.
That's the old Sony theater, man.
Oh, the Palladium?
Yeah, it's been
shit.
It was
okay.
the Sony theater, it was the Best Buy theater. You can still see like on the floor like little PlayStation buttons and everything like that.
Oh, no shit. I didn't really notice that.
I seen some bands there. I saw Between the Buried and Me there many years ago. That was a great show. But I kind of like that venue despite how much of a pain in the ass it is to get to.
Yeah, I think next time if we were to catch a show there, we have to just be more conscious of time and just try to like leave way earlier because, trying to fight city traffic is always a losing battle.
Yeah, well, I kind of thought that we were going to be ahead of the game doing that, but I just didn't anticipate once you started getting down to like that Midtown area, just how fucking crazy it was going to be. Like I dropped you and Kristen off in front of the venue because it just so happened to be like where it was, and that fucking car ride was crazy. So you guys, lucked out. Yeah, just like being able to kick it and stand around. But it took Gabby and I from dropping you probably like 2 blocks. It took us like 20 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
And dude, I really think that New York City should consider making that area of Times Square pedestrian only, because it's really not safe for cars. It's too congested. It is way, way, way too congested. There's congestion and then there's Times Square congestion.
Yeah.
They don't abide by the fucking signs or anything like that, and like, dude, and you get fucking people staring at you for being in like the intersection, and it's like, well, what do you want me to fucking do? What do you want me to do? I get that the light's red, but what do you want me to fucking do?
I completely agree. It is way too congested. It's just insanity. All the tourists and just normal city people, and it's just too fucking crazy. And like it was definitely a culture shock for Kristen because like even though she's from Queens, like she only spent time mostly in Queens or like in Brooklyn, not much in Manhattan.
Right.
So being right there in Times Square was like a lot to take in. And
Yeah,
she
it's
also hasn't
overwhelming.
lived, yeah, she hasn't lived in the city area since she was a kid. So like, it was very overwhelming. We had like, your typical shirtless crackhead doing laps around us too while waiting for you guys. And it's just insanity. But, all that matters is Under Oath sounded absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
They put on one hell of a performance, and the two songs that we caught for Static Dress sounded amazing.
Yeah. Great.
Her and I definitely picked up a Static Dress shirt, and I got an old school Static Dress skater beanie.
I didn't even know that you got that shit.
Yeah. She saw like this one like anime shirt, and she was like, "You and I should get this," and I was like, "Absolutely." And then I saw the throwback early 2000s skateboard beanie, and I was like, "Oh fuck yeah, I'm getting that."
I grabbed
Absolutely.
a vinyl from them.
Yeah.
I already have the Under Oath. They're only chasing safety that they
Yeah,
did.
that actually showed up in the mail for us as we were walking out the door to come down to you. And we just got done listening to it in its entirety before I hopped on. So that was dope.
Cool. When we wrap, I'm gonna throw on the Static Dress that I have.
Oh, hell yeah.
Not like the actual dress that I'm gonna wear while I listen to it, or
Yeah, we definitely have to like try to catch Static Dress again if we can, like on a weekend show. Like if hopefully they'll come to the Brooklyn Monarch because like that is a venue I don't mind going to at all because once you get past the Brooklyn Bridge, it's smooth sailing from there, and the
Right.
parking is street parking, but it's really like it's in front of like old industrial factories that are like by that time there's a show, those factories aren't like they're closed, so you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about shit coming in and out.
Yeah, much less congested. Some areas, but I've never been. Unfortunately, like I remember I had planned to go see 18 Visions with you down there at the Brooklyn Monarch, and I wasn't able to attend that, unfortunately. But I mean,
That
look,
was one
man,
hell of a show.
there's some bands that can get me out of the house like that, down to the city. Under Oath is one of them. Static Dress is definitely another one. So yeah, when they come around, man, I would definitely be down.
Yeah.
Dude, they're doing that whole tour with Under Oath, man, and this is
Yeah.
I think their biggest tour they've ever done.
Yeah, the Under Oath was saying too, it's the biggest tour they've done to date as far as like the amount of dates go because I think it's either it started off in the UK and came over the US or vice versa, it's starting off in the US and they're going over to the UK with Static Dress who are also from the UK. But yeah, it's just those two, and it's funny too because I always thought Static Dress sounded like early Alexis on Fire and early Under Oath if they had a kid that was raised in the UK that was Static Dress.
Wow.
So it's cool that they are finally touring with Under Oath and they deserve this huge exposure. And I can't wait to see them again. It was cool too because when we were buying merch, the person working merch was also the vocalist of World of Pleasure.
I don't even
And
know
World of Pleasure is a fucking awesome Canadian straight edge hardcore band. They did a split with Weapon X, and yeah, they're the sickest. So I was talking to her a little bit.
You
It was really
recognized
cool.
her?
Yeah, immediately.
Oh, that's cool. She was
So
really
we were
cool.
shooting the shit.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
really nice. I was talking with her briefly, not about like that, but that had to make her feel pretty cool that you recognized her.
Oh yeah,
Because she's their
absolutely.
tour manager.
Yeah,
Static Dress's tour manager.
she's busy. She'll like tour for like I think she'll like help manage too See You Space Cowboy or at least work merch for them. And she's just when she's not playing.
That'd be great to see them with Static Dress.
Well, them two have toured. Those two bands have toured a lot
Yeah,
together.
That's a good duo
Yeah,
right there. I'd
absolutely.
love to see that.
All right. Well, enough about our
Or
weekend
actually,
escapades.
Hold on. I want to just bring one thing up, and before we move on, Aaron was talking about how they played CBGBs way back in the day with From First to Last with Sonny
Yeah.
Moore, and then he made mention that Sonny Moore is apparently a Scientologist, and he got sick at the show, and John Travolta picked him up.
Yeah, dude. Like
That's a great
that was crazy.
story.
I was kind of like, no shit.
Cause he like started it out and he was like, yeah, you know, Sonny's very LA and all this shit. And I'm like, yeah, like you could tell. And then he segued into it saying how he's a Scientologist, which I had not known. I knew John Travolta was, but I guess, you know, if you're a Scientologist, dude, you could just
You
fucking
get the
call John.
hookup.
Yeah, you get the
Yeah,
hookup.
just
You get John Travolta to come and fucking pick you up in New York City because you're sick.
that's so
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
But overall, man, great night, great show. I'm glad we went. Traffic sucked, but I held it together. I got us down there.
You did, brother. You did.
Yeah, I didn't mind it, man. I didn't mind it. I don't know, just kind of like in the zone. I was like, yo, this is gonna be fucking worth it. So yeah, I'm glad we went. But enough about that, man. So today is actually the first day of fall, huh? September 22nd.
Yes, it is. It's the first day of fall. And when this episode drops, it will be our October episode, hence why we are covering Hell House LLC. And yeah, man, that time of the year, our favorite time of the year, is finally here. It was nice and cool last night. We slept with the windows open, and this morning
Oh, it was
it was
beautiful
nice and
last night,
cool.
man. Yeah, I
Oh
haven't even
yeah.
been outside yet. I've realistically only been up for 2.5 hours, so I'm still kind of like waking up. I don't
Well,
know, man.
brother,
I was just
I've got my
shot.
cup of coffee here,
I just
and
finished mine. Sad. Sad when you finish the cup. I love that mug, man. Is that the one that I used when I was there?
yes, it is, man. It's our vintage jack o' lantern mug. Kristen, she's a big collector of like ghost or Halloween mugs, and it's great because like the way our apartment is, like half of the Halloween decorating is already done.
Yeah, when you moved in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's
So
Halloween all year round over by you.
oh yeah. So yeah, I think tomorrow if I don't have to work a double, I think we're gonna start decorating since it's officially fall. Like I want it out of the way and just kind of be immersed in the season.
You should just immerse yourself in the season and forget about working a double because it's your choice, man. Enjoy your fucking Monday.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna try to see if like they have availability for like Tuesday. So we'll see. Yeah.
Because who wants to fucking. Anyways, I don't want to talk about none of
Yeah.
that
Enough
bull.
about work talk.
Enough about
Let's
work talk. Let's talk about some fun stuff like Hell House LLC and
yes.
October. So when we were, you know, tossing around ideas for what movie we would want to do for October, I felt like definitely some kind of haunted house movie was the move. And we talked possibly like two other flicks that we're definitely going to cover in the future. But we have a bit of a soft spot in our hearts for Hell House LLC, Stephen, don't we?
We do, Nick, and the whole reason is the movie takes place in Rockland County. We are from Rockland County, um, and it's filmed in Lehighton, Pennsylvania, and that is where we go for VHS Fest.
Yeah, the Mahoning Drive-In is in Lehighton, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and it's funny because our first year going together, on our way down, I had just caught a glimpse of the Waldorf Estate, which is an actual, it's where Hell House is filmed, and it's an actual haunt during October. So as we were passing by,
We were like,
I,
what
I was
this
like,
looks
Nick,
familiar.
I was like, you gotta turn around, dude. I think that's Hell House. And then we pulled up to it and I confirmed it, you know, on Google. And I was just blown away because the first time I went to VHS Fest, I had driven down solo for VHS Fest 5. And I didn't even think to look. But, you know, since I was riding passenger, I was able to, you know, look out the window, enjoy the sights. And yeah, that's when, you know, we had vlogged that was like kind of dipping our toes for this show.
Yeah, exactly. That's entirely what it was because that VHS Fest episode came out before our pilot episode. So yeah, it was just really cool that we had stumbled on that, and it just added, like, as they say in the biz, production value onto our vlog, you know, that we stumbled on it. Cause I don't know, man, it's like the Abaddon Hotel drew us to it, you know, like it does to everybody else, man.
Yes,
You know?
absolutely.
And especially since like we were together at that time and you went a totally different direction. Cause I even asked you, I was like, you came here the year before. Like, what the fuck? You didn't know this was here? Took you in a total different direction.
Yeah. And it's great because like now every time we go down to VHS Fest, we always make a little stop to soak it in and just like, here it is. Here's Hell House. Here's the Abaddon Hotel. And
I want to go in so bad, dude.
So, dude, I would love one Halloween season, since they do it as an actual haunt, to go for the experience.
I think we should plan next year. And like,
next year we should definitely plan that. Maybe stay out there.
Maybe see like what, the Mahonings conjuring up in October, and then like just kind of like plan, because
they're always doing something on a weekend.
Yeah. Oh, dude, they're always fucking doing great stuff, dude. They had Zombie out there with the live score being played, and they had The Crow out there. Don't even get me started, man.
Oh yeah, this past weekend was the dueling chainsaws, so they showed like Evil Dead 1, 2, original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, they always do the coolest shit.
TCM on 35, man, at the Mahoning.
Oh, it must have been beautiful.
Fuck. We'll eventually be able to check that out, man. But yeah, nonetheless, Hell House has a special place in our hearts.
Yeah. Takes place in the Hudson Valley, and this show rides for the Hudson Valley.
Right. We ride or die for our Hudson Valley. It takes place in Abaddon, New York, which is a fictional town in Rockland County. They say that Rockland County's podunk or whatever, and it really isn't. And I guess that kind of offends me a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, no. If anything's podunk, it's Po-Town, Poughkeepsie.
Right. That's where it starts kind of getting a little bit of podunk up there. So, anyways, man, I'm pretty fucking good on, getting started with this. What do you think? I'll read the synopsis. I don't have a physical copy of this.
Neither do I.
All 4 of the movies are streaming on Shudder, and Umbrella Entertainment just announced, I shouldn't say just announced, but Umbrella Entertainment is releasing a box set with all 4 of the films.
I need to pick that up.
So be on the lookout for that. Yeah, I do want physical copies of this.
I love this series.
So do
I. We're only talking about the first one, but I fucking love this series.
Yeah. I mean, I powered through and watched all 4 of them because I had only seen the first one, and then I thought I had seen the second, but I didn't. I probably only got like a quarter of the way through. Don't know what happened. And then the last 2 I had not seen. But I was like, it'd be really good for the conversation, to see the other ones. And I don't know, maybe whatever we talk about, wherever the episode brings us, whatever happens in those 4 will pertain to, this. But I have some things that I definitely want to say about with the sequels compared to the first film. So we'll totally get into that. So I'll read the synopsis off IMDb, and then we will continue our discussion. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, so Hell House LLC 2015. 5 years after an unexplained malfunction causes the death of 15 tour-goers and staff on the opening night of a Halloween haunted house tour, a documentary film crew travels back to the scenes of the tragedy to find out what really happened.
What happened that night at the Abaddon Hotel? What is that?
It's everything.
Sarah, have you watched those?
No.
So you have no idea what's on them?
How beautiful is this?
Hell House.
Look, there it is.
Here we go.
What was that?
I don't know.
And you have heard the rumors about this.
There are no rumors about this place. No rumors. We talked about this.
It's supposed to be haunted.
All right, dude, lock me in. Cool, dude.
Godspeed.
Hey, man. How many freaks did we have?
3 freaks. What's going on?
Are you sure?
5.
was when we started sleeping there that things started to change.
Mac, you heard that, right? I'm telling you, we have to call it off right now.
We have no business being here. Alex is more confident than ever.
I think we're next.
Go back up, go back up! Hurry! Hurry!
Yeah, simple enough plot explanation.
Yes, yeah, super simple, man. You know, Hell House, all four of them were written by Stephen Cognetti, writer director, and yeah, man, I think that he did a really good job with all four of the films. I will say though that of the series, this first one is the best one.
Absolutely. The first one's the best. Part 2's good. 3's eh. I do kind of like 4, but I'm like trying to revisit them because Kristen had only seen the first one during my initial watch for this show. And, you know, I've only seen the sequels once, and that was last year. I was trying to get caught up for the release of part 4 that came out last year.
Yeah, Origins, the Carmichael Manor.
Yeah. So I also have it on my Halloween season watch list this year, part 4. So we're just going through the series again. Like tonight, we're going to watch part 2 and then part 3 when we can fit that in, and maybe officially kick off my October watch list with part 4 to keep it all fresh in our minds.
I liked your watch list that you had brought up. A little side tangent. I'm gonna have to, you know, work on mine. I have some things that I want to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Throw on there.
I always try to curate it be in early September, so that way I am ready to go.
You tend to revisit a lot of movies, though.
Well, yeah, because
not a lot of room, it seems, for like new flicks.
Besides the Salem's Lot 2024 remake, and VHS Beyond, which is also dropping the same day, October 3rd. Yeah, man, there's just certain movies that I have to watch around Halloween time.
Yeah.
And that's the only time of the year I'll allow myself to watch them. So, yeah, a lot of the time, you know my OCD, man. I have to, like, I'm a very themed seasonal guy.
Right.
So, like, certain movies I have to watch a certain time of the year. And a lot of my Halloween picks are movies that circulate around fall or around Halloween time.
Yeah.
Like, I had just gotten my Vinegar Syndrome haul. And in that Homegrown Horrors box set volume 3 is Haunted Ween, which is an early, I don't know if it's like 16 millimeter or shot on video, but it's an early 90s regional haunted house, like Halloween horror flick slasher where, like, you know, there's a killer in the haunt and everyone thinks it's part of the haunt. You know, shit like that, man. Or, you know, it's just, it feels right to watch those kind of movies during this time of the year.
Hey, you're allowed to have that, man. You know, we don't got to go too much into it, but yeah, on the topic of themes, though, I thought it was really funny because when we were working out our schedule for, you know, the next coming months, obviously, you know, Ninja November, and you were like, yo, I'm not watching a Ninja movie in October. We're going to have to do it the first week in November because it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, man. I mean, you're not the one editing this shit, but I mean, I guess I'll squeeze it. I'm just, no, I don't care, man. I'm so flexible with everything, and I understand too.
I appreciate it.
Too much on these fucking tangents, man. So, Steven, how does Hell House LLC open?
So, Hell House LLC opens with this news footage of all this chaos that is going down at the Abaddon Hotel, where they're interviewing tour goers about what happened. And then you get this like documentary style footage of like people that were there, people that have like looked more into the whole incident, and how no one really knows what happened.
Yeah, they're kind of like, you be the judge of what you think happened that night on in Hell House on the opening night and everything like that. And yeah, you know, so found footage with interviews spliced in with either the documentary filmmakers or other experts on. Like look at the news photographer that we said that we liked a lot.
Yeah, love that guy. That guy is great.
Yeah, he's
There's
cool.
that guy. There's like some like older like historian guy who like, you know, has the whole history of the town of Abaddon.
Yeah, he goes. Yeah, he really like speaks on the history, and he's the one that you know, brings up Andrew Tully, who is the Abaddon Hotel owner, who committed suicide, hung himself many years before. But I mean, Andrew Tully just plays a huge role.
Oh yeah, as the series goes
role.
on.
Yeah, the biggest role in all of this.
And you know, they do a real good job of like setting everything up for like, you know, the backstory, like how things are unanswered, because all you have is this YouTube footage from a show goer, or I'm sorry, a tour goer, and you know, this 911 call recording of like a tour goer inside the house, the attraction, and then we get introduced to our main characters who are the workers for Hell House LLC. And it turns out that there's like one survivor, this girl, Sarah, who they go to interview her, the documentary people. And it's just, it does a really good job of setting everything up for you. And it feels very genuine, like you're watching a documentary.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I think that this is such a good flick and such a good series, man, because they continuously do that throughout. You know, he does a really good job of writing all of this and making it feel just very immersive and very real, and just like overall, like found footage films, you know, they really do have a tendency of making you feel very immersed. You know.
Yeah, so. And I'll admit, I'm not the biggest found footage fan. Like, there's some good ones. Obviously, this one.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, like the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
You know,
the first Paranormal.
Oh yeah, and Nori the Curse. That's a great found footage horror. Although, like, you know, obviously with most sub horror genres, like, yeah, the found footage got a little oversaturated.
Oh, big time. Especially with the success of fucking Paranormal, because I feel like Paranormal Activity was what really brought it back on the map.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
Because Blair Witch came out in the 90s, and like it was a great one. That's like the goated found footage, in my opinion. Yeah. You know, I watched it when I was a kid, and I was like, I can't believe this got released. I thought it was real.
Yeah, a lot of people did, you know, and that was due to the genius marketing.
Exactly.
It started to get played out, just like the slasher genre. I'm sure like people felt that way in the 80s.
Of course.
And shit.
I mean, Hollywood sees money, and then they're going to fucking milk it for all that it's worth, you know, because I remember Paranormal Activity had come out, and then like not long after that, I was just thinking about this movie the other day, and it was called like Paranormal Entity, and it was filmed exactly to a T, just like it. And I thought that I was going to be getting something different, and you know, it was kind of a really shitty fucking movie. But even all the Paranormal sequels were really good too, I feel. Especially the second one. That one was really fucking good.
I like the second one up to part 3, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But anyways, so going back to Hell House LLC, we are introduced to our main characters. So you've got Alex, who is the mastermind.
Right. He's the owner of Hell House, owner starter, and then Sarah, who's his girlfriend, and then Mac, who is like his right hand man, and then Paul. Right. Paul is the guy that we're usually with most of the time because he's taking mostly all the behind the footage stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's another
and then
character.
Alex, who is like
Alex.
So Paul and Alex are the first. Yeah. Paul and Alex are like the first hire, or not Paul and Alex, I'm sorry. Tony?
Tony. Yep.
Paul and Tony are Alex's like first hires for Hell House LLC. So, you know, they're the OG crew, all of them. And yeah, they had done business in Queens. Something happened where it didn't work out. So Alex is like, let's go into upstate New York and do what we do best here.
Yeah.
And
then considering that there's a lot of like history with the Abaddon Hotel and everything, it definitely was more fuel for them to feel like it was going to be bringing more people to the haunted attraction.
you know, how we're introduced also to these characters is, again, I mentioned earlier that there is the documentary crew who are interviewing not only like tour goers and like the one historian dude with the funny mustache and the photographer who went in, shot pictures, and was like asking around the town, but people were keeping it hush hush. So he wanted to get to the bottom of this. But then you find out that Sarah, Alex's girlfriend, she's like one of the only survivors.
Is the only surviving member.
Is the only survivor.
Because I think I read in the description that it was like 15 people overall died that night, and that includes all of the Hell House crew members aside from Sarah.
So yes, they're interviewing her at, funny enough, the Mahoning Inn. That's where that's filmed, and we stayed there for VHS Fest the one year. So that's cool also that we also stayed at the Mahoning Inn. But so they start like interviewing her, and I think she like gives them like the tapes of like what, you know, Paul had documented. So they do a good job of like, okay, now that they've asked her some questions, now let's get into like what the characters have seen in all of their archived footage.
Yeah, from their perspective, which I think is great too. So it's like there's no more like speculation. Like we're really seeing firsthand accounts now.
Yeah.
And, you know, from the way that the film starts out, once that footage is, you know, received, is, you know, them on their way to the Abaddon Hotel, you know, and, you know, they're just like having a good, fun time as friends would. And then they get to the Abaddon, and then they go inside, and, you know, we're walking through the hotel, and we're kind of just seeing just like the remnants of it, you know, like it hasn't been accessed in how many years? I think they said it was like 15, 30 years.
30 years, because like
Tully killed himself in like 89, right?
Yep. And this footage takes place in 2009.
Yeah.
So yeah, 30 years. And it's funny too, because like it's a real rough shape, the Abaddon Hotel. And you know, a lot of the crew, they're like, fuck, dude, we're gonna have to put so much work into this. Like, Alex, I don't know about this place, man. This is just like sketch. And he's all like, no, half the work's already done for us. Like, this is gonna work. He's so determined to make this a success. It's like to the point where it becomes like an obsession.
Right.
So
and that's ultimately like kind of his downfall in a sense too, you know? Because as time goes on, there's things that come up that are very questionable, and he kind of like turns a blind eye to it. I feel like a lot of them do as well.
Yeah, besides Paul.
Yeah.
But we'll get more into that. So yeah, they start setting up shop, you know, getting the electric going. You know, that's Tony and Paul, like they're the masterminds of like setting up the cameras, the electric. And then and even Alex suggests like, let's stay here. Let's sleep here as we're working on it.
Maybe one night just to see how it goes.
Yeah, but they're there for a whole month before opening day.
Yeah.
Imagine that, man. Imagine living there for like over a month. Get the fuck out of here. I'd go crazy.
Agreeing to that was before any of them had any idea about the paranormal activity that may or may not be going on in here, because ultimately it was just speculation up until, you know, these first hand experiences. So
yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because like even before they all agree to stay, they go down into the basement of the Abaddon Hotel, which is a key location.
Yes.
And they see like all these Bibles and like, you know, the satanic fucking star, the pentagram, and all this shit. And they're like, what the fuck went on here?
Yeah, and the thing that's funny about that is when they stumble on it, you know, Sarah, she's like very like shooken up about it, you know, she's like very weirded out, and she's like, wait, like you guys didn't do this? And they're like, no, this shit was just here. So whatever was in that basement, you know, whatever was written on the walls, whatever they had found was from 30 years ago, more than likely, you know, is what I would assume, right? whatever the fuck Andrew Tully was doing.
So then we get back to more of like the photographer and like the documentary crew, and it skips ahead to like a week that like the electric is going, and we didn't mention, but we watched during our second watch for this episode, we watched the director's cut, which has a bonus of 7 minutes of extra footage.
7 or 8 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
But the fucking thing that I don't really like about it is, yes, it adds footage, and I really should have went back to reference this, but it looked like it took out 2 important key moments from the theatrical or streaming version that we had mentioned. And one of which was the handoff of the tapes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is huge for the plot.
Yeah. I don't know why that was left
I don't
out.
know if maybe we just missed it, or if it just kind of like passed by because we had seen it before and whatever, but I really don't remember. But all the scenes that were added definitely jumped out at us. We were able to really understand, like, oh yeah, that's added, you know?
Yeah. For example, after week 1, once they have the electricity going, Tony's like setting something up, and like the door behind him opens up, and he's like, what the fuck? So he just like shuts it, and then it opens up again, and as he turns, like something runs by the camera.
Yeah, and then you see these glowing eyes all inside of the fucking empty room
as he walks away or like turns towards the camera. Yeah, there's like the glowing eyes, which I love that.
Yeah.
See, what's great about this, in most found footage horror, they try to get you with the quick jump scares and boos, whereas this is very subtle. It's just like little things in the background that you have to catch, and it just builds and builds and builds. The way this is paced is so good, and that's what makes this a very strong found footage horror film.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that statement. Just very unsettling moments, man, you know?
Yes,
and like you said, it doesn't rely on the jump scare. Of course there are somewhat, but more unsettling moments than anything else.
But it's not so in your face and hits you over the head with it like, you know, most found footage horror. The way they do it is just, it's so good and so creepy. Like, this movie kind of sticks with you, which is
it did for
funny.
me, man. I told you, and I'm going to go on the record and say it, when I was powering through these last couple nights, I more or less had nightmares about the Abaddon Hotel for
that's awesome.
Majority of the nights. Yeah. And the biggest factor was that fucking clown.
Dude. Okay. We'll get more into that clown.
That fucker. I hate him.
Talk about the perfect, like, poster child, whatever, for this series, that clown. But, you know, when I had first shown this to Kristen during my first initial watch for this episode, that night, she like turned to me as we were like going to sleep, and she's like, I just want you to know I'm genuinely fucking creeped out.
Yeah.
Like, that movie creeped me the fuck out. And I'm just like, fuck yeah. I love it. That's what I love to hear.
It did what it was intended to do. So, you know, I mean, I probably shouldn't have been watching it at like 2:00 in the morning, you know, because I'm like going about my day, and then I'm working, and then like I'm coming home, and I'm not even like giving my fucking head any moment to rest. I'm immediately throwing like these like, I'm feeling super fucking heightened the entire time I'm watching this movie, because or all of them actually, because it's such a slow burn for this. You're fucking always on edge, because the way that it's filmed, any direction, like you're anticipating something to happen. So I really do feel like you're heightened for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't feel at ease at any time, you know?
And that is effective
filmmaking
right there.
Yes, 100%.
Absolutely. Man. So yeah, like, you know, again, they're setting up the house. They're going to work. They're setting up these props. Like, they're scaling back on the budget. Whereas, like, I think Paul or Tony mentioned, like, oh, how come, you know, we're not having like animatronics, and instead they're just using like dummies and everything else. But, it's all about the atmosphere that Alex keeps saying, this house is perfect for this. And as the days are like going on, that's where more weird shit starts to happen, where like Paul wakes up in the middle of the night, and he sees someone walking. And then the way that's shot too is like you just see the shadow and the red lighting in the hallway.
And then you
like
just see the silhouette of this person entering the room.
And he just thinks it's like,
he thinks it's Sarah.
Yeah, he's like, yo, you good? And they don't answer, and they just walk away. He's like, all right, that was fucking weird. Anyways, and then, you go to the next day.
But I don't like that, dude, because, even if I was in that situation, if that was like any one of my friends, I would have went. This could have been a really good opportunity for something really weird to happen if he had gotten to go and check to see, if it was Sarah, if she was okay or whatever, because that's, me, what I would want to do is make sure my friend is all right, because a sleepwalker could really hurt themselves. But you and I speculated whether or not we thought that was Sarah, or if we thought that was like an entity of some sort, because there is something that happens later on in the movie which could make you think. There's two things that happen later on in the movie which could make you think both ways. I feel it's really not that much of a difference, but it's just something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're introduced to a couple of more characters because, like, they need higher scare actors for the haunt. So we meet, like, this guy, Joey, and these, like, two other women, because the plan is the finale of the haunt is you go down into the basement where they have this one girl, I don't remember her name, but she's, like, supposed to be tied up, and down there are, like, 4 clown mannequins, right? And they're like, well, we can't seem to get video signal down there, so we need eyes down there, which, of course brings up liability, which you had mentioned. He's like, yo, anytime you involve stairs in a haunt, that's a guaranteed liability.
Dude, when have you ever went to a haunt that had stairs like that?
Yeah.
It's just like incline declines, really, man. Like, people are gonna it's a
very practical thing.
Right.
A concern,
But he was like, we're going to just come right down. We're going to have, this guy. We'll put a guy in a mask right here. She'll be tied up. They'll come right out, and it's going to be good to go.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, problem solved since, we don't get video signal down there. And also their walkie-talkies are acting a little weird, which they just brush off.
Yeah.
And that comes into play later, too, with the walkie-talkie difficulties. But it's these little subtle things, man, that just play a bigger part later on, and that is just good filmmaking again.
Well, yeah, it's how I always view those things is, the breadcrumbs.
Yes.
It's just you're always I love when you start laying out the breadcrumbs, and then at the end of it all, it makes a nice big fucking piece of bread, man,
Yeah. And then, like, I also love too, as they're like progressing, like, you have these wholesome moments with the crew, like drinking and talking, and just, you get to see more of like how tight they are and how much of a team, and like all of their history. Like, they really do a good job of like the character development. Without like, it just happens.
You feel like they're friends, and you do feel like they've been friends for a long time because of all their interaction and everything, and how they communicate together. And you kind of all really, it's written well to the point where you kind of also do forget that you're watching a movie, and you do feel like you're watching real documentary footage, man.
I was going to say, I feel like a lot of this is ad-libbed. They were like, just do you guys, like, especially Paul. Like, I feel like Paul's just fucking winging it the whole time.
Yeah. Maybe they, there was definitely, probably a script to keep him on track, but
yeah,
I would think that there were some, flexibility with everything for sure.
Yeah. And, being a big fan of like Halloween and haunts, like, it's cool to see them like setting everything up. And, we get introduced to, like, at one point, like, Paul is playing on this old piano next to this prop he calls Hector, that he's like, yeah, we'll have this guy here. His name's Hector. And Paul plays these little like theme keys. And that theme comes into play not only later in the movie, but the whole series.
Yeah. And you mentioned, because as you know, the series progress and everything, you know, that theme becomes the theme of Hell House, and at a point there's lyrics written, and it's kind of like a rhyme, a nursery rhyme type kind of,
Yeah.
and that I don't really like, but
Not a fan of that.
you know, and what I was alluding to earlier on when we were talking about this film was, I don't know if Stephen Cognetti, you know, had intentions on continuing. I mean, I think every filmmaker probably does think about like, okay, you know, what are we gonna do, you know, if this takes off, but I don't think that. I think that that was just an ad lib. Was, you know, the fucking
Yeah.
the thing. They
Because
just
the
kinda,
sequel, it took a couple of years to come out. It wasn't instantaneously like happening. You know, it was like, okay, there was a break between 1 and 2, but then I think after 2 also doing well, they were like, oh, all right, let's keep going.
What do you think was the cause of that? Do you think that it was just that they had filmed this in 2015 and then maybe it didn't catch on?
It didn't catch on. I think Shudder helped.
Dude, Shudder rules, man.
Shudder fucking rules. Hell yeah.
Because it's a Shudder original.
Yeah, I think Shudder helped catch on. Then you get word of mouth, and then they're like, yo, all right, like people are talking about this more now. Let's add more to this.
They're like, oh yeah, let's write a second. And then as you're writing a second, you're like, hey, you know, I've been granted the ability to write a second film. Let me consider what like a third or fourth film might look like. And then it's like you have to start thinking back now at what you had already established and what you're going to do now to tie all that in. Example, the song or the clown or, you know, certain things like that. Because I think initially those things were just there and written in for the first film. And then they're like, okay, we have to connect it now. You know, this clown is scary as fuck. Why is he part of this when he was just supposed to be a mask?
Yeah.
You know,
it was just a prop with a mask.
Just a prop. But that fucking clown, which I hate, and Kristen hates, he becomes a very big, significant role. You find out in the origins in the Carmichael Manor. So we haven't even gotten to him yet. So
yeah, so let's get to him because again, as they draw closer to opening day, things start to pick up as far as like the paranormal shit. You know, they're like all waking up at the same time to like the noise of like screaming, and they're like, did someone leave the soundboard on? Shit like that. Or for example, Paul is like, you know, just walking through because Alex hasn't filming everything. And the reason is for an easier setup for next year, kind of follow the blueprints. And at one point, he is walking through the haunt, going through like all of the props, and he stumbles upon the clown of 4. There's like 4 clowns, but one specific one. And he thinks it's like Mac or Tony. I think he thinks it's Tony because he passes by Mac, who's reading a book.
Right. And then he's like, he's like, well, where's Alex and Sarah? And he's like, oh, they went into the city to get more props. Where's Tony? He's like, he's around.
So he goes towards the basement, and there's the fucking specific clown mannequin prop that we keep referencing here. And he's like, whoa, like you scared me, Tony. That was good. And he's like, wait, what are you doing? And then like
the clown's looking into the basement.
Yeah.
Facing into the basement.
So he's filming like, why are you looking at the basement? And then as he pans the camera back, the clown is now looking at him. He's like, yo, Tony, what the fuck? So he goes over to like get Mac. And that's when he sees that Tony's there talking to Mac. He's like, no, you shouldn't fucking be in here. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, he's flipping out. So they go back and they review the footage.
Well, he sees Tony there, and then he goes back to the hallway.
Oh, yeah,
and the basement entrance, and the fucking clown is gone. And then he runs downstairs, and wouldn't you know, the clown is sitting down against the wall where it's always been.
Yeah. And so he's like, yo, this is fucked up, you know. And they go back and they review the footage, and everyone's like, wow, Paul, nice trick. You know, especially like Alex. Like, he's like, I love that you're getting into the spirit. You guys are really immersed in this.
Yeah, Alex definitely Alex and Mac are skeptical on it because I think that Paul is like the boy that cried wolf.
Yeah.
you know? And you see, and I really like this reaction because they're all sitting there watching it, and Tony's doing the playback, and as soon as he sees the clown, you see like his face just kind of like perplexed by this, you
Yeah.
know, because it was only those three guys who were there, you know.
Yeah, and even Sarah's like, "Oh my God, are you for real? Like, are we really watching this?"
Now let me ask you, if you were Paul in that situation, would you have left or would you have still continued to stay there after
I'm
that?
fucking out. That's all the proof I need to see.
Right? Because you
I'm
can't
fucking
explain that.
out.
And I had posed I had posed something to you as well. I was like, the only thing that may or may not have kept me there is if after reviewing the footage, I was wrong and that they'll play it through and then you see that there was not any clown there or anything there, because then it's like you're like, okay, like maybe something is going on with me. I mean, even then you should be a little bit concerned because you're like, I don't know, I got like asbestos poisoning or some shit and I'm having hallucinations. But I would have been the fuck out, dude, after that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I would have been fucking out of there. That's all the proof I need to see in that fucking the playback
Right.
footage. Fuck yeah. But, you know, Alex always seems to have some kind of explanation and rallies the team back so they continue on. And things really start to heat up after this point because, like, Sarah's getting up in the middle of the night, staring at the walls, and more like noises and sounds. And, like, Paul keeps getting woken up. And then at one point, I think it's either like Paul and Mac again wake up and they hear a noise together. They go down and check it out. And there's fucking Sarah just staring at the wall, speaking in weird tongues. And they're like, what the fuck?
But I'll tell you, man, you're right about that. But that scene specifically, there's a lot more to that because Paul wakes up in the middle of the night, and then this is the scene when he walks out of the room, and then he looks down the stairs. And
Yes,
this is
and
when he
there's-
sees the fucking clown, like in the stairwell leading up to all the bedrooms.
Yep.
And then it's
Mac goes up to it, and he's like
Right.
shaking it. And he's like,
so
"It's
they're
a
just like
dummy."
staring at this fucking thing, and you know, Mac walks down towards it, and he's like, "Oh, it's just a dummy. Like somebody must have put it there." So like they're kind of also thinking that somebody's, you know, fucking with them, one of the crew members, one of their friends or whatever. So they're like, all right, let's bring this thing back down to the basement. And then we're walking with Paul, and then we catch a glimpse of something in the fucking dining room, and it's Sarah, like you had just said, up against the wall, speaking in tongues. It almost sounds reverse. I
Yeah,
wonder what it
yeah.
would sound like if I'm going to see if I could do that. I don't know if I'm going to add it in here, but I want to know what she says, playback forward. So they're like, "Oh, Sarah, come on. And then the fucking clown that was in the doorway that they were dragging out is now gone.
Yeah. And then that's like after that, they hear the piano theme again, and they go, and it's just the prop, Hector, and they're like looking around.
And they go to walk away, and then all of a sudden here, and then they run back. Dude, it's a very scary
And then
scene,
here,
man.
the next part I love is that they hear, like, they go by the dining room and they hear the clock, which has been long broken. It starts going off. Now,
There's candlelight and everything on now too.
yeah, you're like, who the fuck lit the candles in the
the
dining
witching
room?
hour, man. This is
Yeah,
probably like what,
exactly.
3 a.m. or something?
Oh, yeah. If I had to take a guess, yeah, it's 3 a.m., the witching hour. And I don't know about you, Nick, but I've been in a situation. So my step aunt, her house is very old. It's very haunted. I've had multiple experiences there. Same with like my other cousins. My Aunt Gina, you remember her.
That house was very scary, man. I felt
You've
very
been in.
uncomfortable.
You've been
Yeah.
in that house. Okay,
it's a
there
very
is from
unsettling
previous
house.
owners. There is like tombstones of pets in the yard. I'm not kidding. And also, there's a deep cellar. The house is huge.
Yeah, it's
One
big.
time, I had gone there. I was kicking it with my cousin Anthony. Now I got there like a bit later after him. He was already upstairs in his room, and I had walked through. And this is well past midnight. You know how big that house is. the fucking clock started going off. Dude, I raced up to his room. I was like, I'm not fucking staying down here. Because it was just him home.
Yeah, I felt super uncomfortable when I was there. We were really young too.
Yeah. And that house is down the street from the Shanley Hotel, which is like one of the most famous haunted hotels in upstate New York. So like
it also didn't make things better that while we were there, Decio.
Yeah.
And who else was
Eric,
it? His brother?
Yeah.
Oh my dude,
They did a prank on us.
Yeah.
It was a birthday party sleepover that I had where we watched a bunch of horror movies, and Eric and Decio dressed up as like a dead, not like someone that was like all bloodied up, and like Eric put on the Freddy mask and the gloves, and like they were banging at the window. Yeah, they played a horrible prank on us when we were young.
Yeah.
But that house, like I've going back to the whole clock going off, I've kind of been in that situation, and it's fucking terrifying. And I just love that they're like all freaking out as the clock's going off, the candles, and then they turn around and there's the clown doll again. Yeah. Or clown mannequin. It's a 6-foot mannequin. It's not like the little poltergeist clown. This is a full fucking fledged 6+ foot. That's fucking scary.
Yeah, a lot happens, man. It's kind of like a systematic overload of just scary, unsettling shit that's going on, man. You know, that easily would have led me out the door.
And Paul, at this point, he's like, dude, we need to get the fuck out of here. We shouldn't even be here. He's like arguing with Alex. At one point, he's filming Alex comforting Sarah, who's all fucked up from this.
Yeah. She's not handling it well. And like,
no,
now
and she's looking worse.
Yeah, she's looking worse. And like, what's calling her, you know, to the dining room and to have like these sleepwalking spells and things like that, you know? So, you know, this fucking place is haunted.
Yeah, like clearly everyone's on edge now due to all of this, and even Paul mentions. And even like before that, there's little, and I love that they do this, where the documentary team does like playback footage of like things you may have missed. So like at one point they walk past a room and there's a dark figure standing in the corner, and if you don't catch it, you know, that's where the playback footage comes in.
Right.
So it's all just building and building and building. It's great pacing.
Yeah.
I love it. They don't just hit you over the head with it right away. It builds up and it gets more intense and more intense. And at this point, Paul wants out. Mac is like, he's perplexed. He's like, I can't even explain this. Tony's more on Paul's side. And yeah, everyone's just on edge, and they're getting closer to opening day. And Alex is like, guys, like we just need to get through this.
Yeah, he's trying to keep it all together, you know. But it's just like tons of unexplained things happen. So, you know, I guess as any great leader, you know, you're good at talking to your team and, you know, convincing your team. And I mean, I would definitely hope that you don't try to manipulate these people because of their services, but more so that, you know, you believe in them and you can't do it without them, you know. So I would want to believe that Alex had the right intentions by trying to keep everybody there. And I mean, he had a lot riding on this, and we had spoken about this because there's a point a little bit later on where nothing's, we'll get to it later, but just Alex had a lot riding on opening night and this haunt being a success. So, you know, after Alex, you know, settles everybody down after all of this craziness that happened during that one night, they kind of like continue on business as usual, you know, capping everything off the best that they can. And, dude, when the fuck do we come to the point where the strobe light scene?
Oh, yeah. So we may have... Okay, so
either way, let's talk about it, man, because this is a good one.
Okay, so there's one part of the haunt that Alex and Paul did a lot of work where it's like strobes, a couple of like dummies, or as they call freaks, in the hallway.
How many freaks do we have in here? 3.
Yeah, 3. So Paul does like a demo walkthrough that he's filming. And he's like, okay, cue the lights. All right, great. Cue the strobes. And as he's walking through, You see the 3 dummies or freaks, but we get again the shot of the POV of Paul. As the strobes are going off, there's a 4th dummy or freak, and you're like, that just steps out, and he's like, Tony, how many freaks do we have? He's like, 3. You sure about that? Yeah. And then it starts getting closer to him. And we had talked about how much like strobe lights fuck with like and distort your vision.
They are my least favorite thing when it comes to a haunted attraction. I hate them. They fuck me up. They make me sick. They disorient me. They do their job. I hate them.
Yeah, yeah. They make like things that are inanimate almost move, if you will.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So Paul sees that there is someone else in this hallway with him, and he's like banging to get out. He's like, Tony, open the fuck up. Like, and he can't. And then finally he like breaks through the door and immediately like vomits. And he's just like,
that vomiting was real.
Yeah.
I read that was a real reaction to him filming that scene, was him really throwing up. Yeah. So that shit really got him sick.
That's probably from the strobes.
Exactly.
Yeah. And again, we go back to the play footage, and they still the image, and you could see there's a cloaked figure standing like right.
Not only one.
There's 2. That's right.
It's like some fucker in like a ghoul looking mask in there.
Yeah.
But like the last frame, about half a frame of it, you see like 3 cloaked individuals in the hallway.
And you get glimpses throughout the movie, so you're like, "What the fuck is
of
up
them,
with that?"
of the cloaked, because it's different. It's like, it's almost like the cloaked spirits, and then the other little fuck around ones that are may or may not be like the ghost girl, or the clowns, or whatever the fuck. But yeah, those are like the heavy hitters. Those are the more unsettling ones because they seem very demonic because of like the way that they look.
Yeah. And, you know, as we move forward to, again, opening day, because it's all a build up to this opening, you know, this whole movie is like what led up to the events that they show you in the beginning.
Well, Paul goes missing.
Yes. Even before that, though. So we see Alex taking notes in his little booklet. Right?
This is in the director's cut.
Yes.
This is Paul finds this in the director's cut. This is a great scene. They should not have cut this out.
No, not at all. Because Paul goes into Alex's little notebook. And at first it's like little floor plans and like notes about the haunt. But then as he continues to flip through, there's like a portal and demonic images and just Abaddon written constantly.
Yeah, and it just keeps going on, and it looks psychotic.
Yeah. And Paul's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then we get to later that night.
Yeah.
Where Paul, he wakes up. I think he like hears a noise, and then he like, we see it, but he doesn't. There's someone sitting in the corner of his room. And then he grabs the camera because he hears a noise. And as he turns, he then sees like, oh, what the fuck? And like goes under the covers. And this is so effective because I used to play this game with my cat where I'd like peek behind a corner and she would see me, and then I'd peek back, and then as I'd peek behind, she would get closer and closer. And that's what this thing does. This entity is like he goes under the covers, and this is like an old childhood fear of being under the covers and knowing that if you remove them, something's going to be right in your face.
Yeah. I would never take my eyes off of anything like that.
No,
you know?
Fuck no.
I would have just been sitting at it, looking at it,
knowing every movement it makes.
Probably attack it. You know,
yeah.
I would have attacked that. I would have attacked the fucking, the clown, you know? And I'm not just like saying this to overreact. Like I would have just, not at any point in time when any of this stuff is happening do they try to unmask the mannequin either.
No. Yeah.
You know, which is kind of weird.
They just kind of like feel it and feel like, oh yeah, no, it's.
But
still
the little
mannequin.
peekaboo thing, Steven, is very unsettling, man.
It's very unsettling because you've got this like spirit of this like woman who looks all fucked up with these crazy eyes, and as Paul pops out from under the covers, like to check, She gets closer, and then you see her start to get up, and you're like, "Oh fuck no, man, fuck no!"
And what does he do? He goes under the covers, and you're like, "Dude, you fucked up."
Yeah, and then the third time he opens up the covers, boom, it just takes him. And we wake up the next day, and Tony grabs the camera. He's like, "Where the fuck is Paul?" And Paul is just missing. So then Mac is like, a couple years ago, he fucking did this shit then where he no-showed for a few events. Like, he's just fucking being a shitty worker. And Tony's like, dude, like, he helped me put this shit together. He put a lot of work into this.
Yeah, he's trying to discredit him,
Yeah. He's like, I don't think, like, that's the case at all. And, the scare actors show up to go over final plans again. And the one girl that's supposed to be tied up, she's like, hey, where's Paul been? Because Paul was, flirting with her and, trying to spit game and shit. And she's like, where has he been? He's like, oh, yeah, he's just, he's under the weather. He's not really around,
Well, I feel like he was missing for a couple days.
Yeah, yeah.
He was missing for a couple days. This kind of like, it put Tony in a bit of a spot where I feel like he was even kind of feeling like he wanted to leave because it was just kind of becoming too much. And he was like on the verge of leaving. And then him and Mac have a conversation. Yeah.
Even before that conversation, what finally breaks the straw on the camel's back for Tony is the day that the day that Paul goes missing. Later that night, Tony, who now has the camera, and Mac wake up to the sound of something. They go down and they check it, and they think maybe it's Paul fucking around.
This is the scene that we brought up earlier with the piano and everything like that, because they hear the piano sound, and Paul was actually the one playing with Hector.
And playing that theme.
So they think this is him, but this is the night that they actually find Paul in the house after him being missing for a day or two.
Yeah, so when they go and they check the sound, they hear the theme that Paul was playing. They go, and it's Hector. And they're in the same room. They look around. Paul's not behind the piano. He's nowhere to be found, even though they're asking, Paul, is that you? Like, are you fucking around? And then as they're in the same room, it's like someone like runs their fingers across the piano as they're in the same room, but there's no one there but the prop Hector. And Tony is like, yo, what the fuck? But then they go down to the basement, and that is where they find Paul.
They hear yelling. Right? Remember?
Yeah, that's right. They hear yelling. They go down in the basement where the fucking clown props are, and there's just Paul in this catatonic state, not responding, not nothing. But Mac's like, he's just fucking around. Like, you fucking dick. I knew it was you. And then, of course, Alex and Sarah come down because they hear all the commotion, and they're like, what the fuck, and it's just like, that's where Tony's like, yo, he is not right.
Yeah.
He fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah, this is the divide.
Yeah, this is the divide. He's like, fuck you, I quit. And he even says to Alex, yeah, write that in your little fucking notebook.
Yeah.
And Alex is just like, let him go, Mac, let him fucking go. And then we see this footage of Mac and Tony having a conversation. And this is where you and I realize, and they kind of explain it, I think, in the series, but
they do later on, because so Mac is running after Tony, and he's like, hey, listen, I gotta talk to you. There's some things that Alex hasn't told you. And then the camera cuts, and then you see Tony sitting in a field, and he's kind of just pondering, wondering even, he's like, man, Alex never told me. And then Mac was like, yeah, and the scary part about that is there's still a lot of things that he hasn't told me. So you think about it, and you're like, well, does Alex know about the haunting, the paranormal, or anything deeper that's going on in this hotel? When in all reality, we said, no, I don't think that that's the case. I think it's a financial thing, because you find out in the later of the films that Hell House in Queens wasn't doing well.
Yeah.
So he has all his money riding on this being a success. Otherwise, he's gonna, belly up.
The company's fucked. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, Mac and Alex are business partners, so I'm sure they all have a good share that's been invested that is no longer, the funds are no longer there.
Exactly. So there's so much riding on this, but this is not explained in this.
This is explained later.
This is explained later in the second film, more so.
I can't wait to get into the second film tonight, man.
Yeah,
I really can't.
Yeah. No, you're gonna have a good time, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, this keeps Tony there. This keeps everybody's loyalty there because they're like, hey, you know, we have to be here to see this through now. So now we're jumping into opening night, right? So Alex is, you know, running through everything, you know, the last hour or so before doors open. And then this is when the main actress, she asks about where's Paul been. And then we see that like Paul's been upstairs and he's been under the weather for probably like another day or two. You know, he's been pretty fucked up, you know, and you know, they're just like doing some last minute preparation, and then you start seeing the line growing outside and everybody's getting ready to come in. So now everything has been leading up to the main question is what the fuck happened opening night at the Abaddon Hotel.
Yeah. And as they're going through like station checks and everything, like fucking Max walkie-talkie stops and Tony's like, well, this is great.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, oh man.
Right.
Like
the signs are there, man, but the signs have always been there.
You guys should have stopped and quit while you were ahead.
Right.
But here we are opening night and it's ride or die.
Let's go. Let's do it.
And it's go. And then, you know, and it's funny because like Alex tries to have one last pep rally with like all the scare actors too and like his crew. But you could tell he's like fucking out of it. He's just not there. And Mac has to take control.
Right. Yeah.
And like, even, I'm sure like the scare actors are like, what the fuck's up with him? You know? But they're like, all right, everyone go get into makeup and costumes. Let's scare some people. And Mac just takes the lead. So we then see, you know, from Tony, who's controlling all the monitors. He's got eyes on everything. And then we then switch to Mac's head cam. And here we go. It is opening night. We got the door greeter, who's one of the scare actors. And there's a big line of people. And it's go time. So we get this footage of the first group of people coming in. And then that's when we go back to the tour footage that was on YouTube that they show you in the beginning. Plus the additional footage of Mac's footage.
Yeah. Plus like the unearthed behind the scenes footage from the Hell House crew as well. So we're seeing different perspectives now because we failed to mention that earlier on, like the play-by-play as far as the footage was from YouTube was the first group of people going in, and as they're walking in, scare actors are running out, and you can hear people yelling and that there's a bit of a commotion and things aren't being handled right. And then they end up getting up to the basement and like everybody seems to be piled on everybody to get out.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of where the footage stops. But now we're going to see furthermore what happens.
Yeah. We're going to see furthermore through to Mac's head cam because he's down in the basement, like tucked away. And then we get to really like see everything that goes down in that basement. So we've got this girl tied up and she's freaking the fuck out to the crowd. And she's like, this isn't part of the act. This isn't part of the act. And that's when like the one clown actor
who was supposed to protect her.
Yeah, it was supposed to protect her, gets up and fucking dips.
Yeah.
And the tour goers are like, was that supposed to happen? And then you also see Sarah run through like a trap door, not like a secret door.
Yeah.
Because shit's just not going right.
Everybody's abandoning ship once it hits the fan, you know?
Yeah. And that's where we see the cloaked figures. And they start closing in.
And there's a bit of an orange glow that's like coming from the basement now.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get the impression that there's like some kind of portal that has now been opened.
Yep. And all of these cloaked satanic figures start drawing in and they fucking take the girl that's chained up and she's screaming for her life and they're doing something to her. And then like you get like footage or like close-ups of like, I guess another tour goer maybe. Whereas like the fucking cloaked figures move in on them.
Right.
So like, and there's supposed to be the one exit, but they can't get out. And that's where Mac, who's like, oh fuck, like we can't get out this way. and that's when they go back
He's
up
like,
too.
there's another exit. Yeah. So
And he's trying to get like some of the remaining tour goers and people out of the house or the Abaddon Hotel, and some of them do get out, but not everyone. And the door shuts behind in front of him, and he can't get out, and neither can Sarah. And then there's more tour goers who are also trapped in. So there's.
So we have the girl that's in the basement who is now being like, you know, whatever these demonic entities are doing in the basement, you know, like that's ground zero right there for all the chaos that's going on, right? And then Mac and Sarah, they run up to the attic, and then when they run up to the attic, we see Alex hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah. He's hanging from this chain that they saw earlier when they were setting everything up. Like, yo, what the fuck's up with this chain?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's fucking hanging just like, what's his name?
Tully.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and as that's going on, you know, all of these like cloaked figures start popping up, and like one of them kills Tony, and then like fucking, I think they get to Mac. And then there's just, what is it? Sarah's just running around, right? And that's where we then go back to the girl in the basement. And this was in the added footage. She gets dragged down
into hell,
to hell, essentially, like that portal, which I thought was dope.
Yeah, I thought that was great too, especially for it being like low budget CGI. I was like, all right, you guys did a good job with that. So,
and you hear the sirens, you see all the emergency, vehicles pulling up, and like the tour goers that got out, they're like, I don't know what the fuck happened. It was just like crazy. And then like, you're getting a little footage of them, and again, Sarah's just trapped, and that's when we go back, actually, before she bumps into Paul. We go back to the documentary people who are talking to Sarah, and Sarah's just like, I need to take a break. I just need a couple hours of rest. And they're like, oh yeah, of course, we're so sorry. Even though they're like, so it was just you, like all these things happening, you just got to walk out.
Yeah, you're the only survivor. Like how?
Yeah, and then she's like, you should go to the Abaddon Hotel.
Yeah, go. You should go check it out. They're like, no, it's been boarded up. Like we can't go. And she's like, well, is that the only thing that's holding you back? Yeah. Well, you should still try to go.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'll be in my room, number 2C.
Yeah. And that's when she hands the tapes, which either we missed in the director's cut or they cut out, which we were like, if they did cut out, why would you cut that out?
Yeah,
but they give it to one of the documentary crew.
Mitchell Kavanaugh or something like that. Mitch Kavanaugh. And he's
like referenced in like part 2, right?
He's the main guy in part 2.
Okay. Yeah. And so they're like, well, let's go. So they go, but before that, they go to check on Sarah. She's nowhere to be found. So they go to the front desk and they're like, hey, we're looking for Sarah. I can't remember the last name, but like she's in room 2C. And they're like, we don't have a 2C and there's no Sarah. So
Sarah
like,
Haver or something like that.
Yeah.
I think her name might be.
So they're like, what the hell? But they're like, fuck it. Let's go to the Abaddon.
Just ignoring something they probably shouldn't ignore. It's weird. And they're like, oh, she's probably just, they justify it saying that she's probably staying under a different name.
Yeah. So we're with the documentary crew. They break in and they start going through like, oh, this is where this happened. This is where this happened, after they reviewed like some of the footage, the archival footage from Paul's tapes or whatever. And, they're just doing like shot by shot comparisons, even with like the photographer's photo. And at one point they want to go down to the basement, but the one guy with the camera is like, I'm not fucking going down there. He's like,
yeah. And she's like pointing out that there's like blood splatter on the walls. And then there's like blood handprints on the stairs of like people trying to crawl up, which
same with the one photographer who had like, was like, this was no gas leak. Like what and he even says like, what the fuck happened in there?
And that was supposed to be the malfunction was like a gas leak or a water leak or something like that. And yeah, no, not at all, man. People got trampled. whatever entity there was or is in that house, definitely took some souls that night.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, so the documentary crew, they're just like going through like all like almost like a play by play in their own version of everything that happened. And she's like ecstatic. She's like, this is such good footage. Like, this is gold. And the other guy's
Right.
like, all right, yeah, let's wrap this up. And that's when they go upstairs and they see room 2C.
Yeah, and then this woman gets a phone call as they're walking up, and it's this dude Kavanaugh, who's one of the producers or whatever on the documentary, and he's trying to call them because he sees something on the tape.
And that's
she
where we go
ignores
back
it.
to.
Yes.
And we go back to this footage, and it's Paul with the camera.
Sarah trying to get out, right?
Sarah trying to get out. She's like, oh my God, Paul, like we got to get out of here. And Paul, who is under some sort of possession, starts bashing her in the face with the camera and tripod to where she is just a bloody mess, but she's still alive. And then we see the cloaked figures drag her off. And then Paul, with a piece of glass, slits his throat and slowly slides down, and you hear him choking on the blood. So that goes back to that photographer's picture of the blood on the floor.
Yeah, the big smear and everything like that. Her being
and he
dragged
also
away.
mentioned, that photographer said he talked to a cop who was investigated the scene but wanted to remain anonymous, and he said that like the first one they found was Paul, who was dead, where it looked self-inflicted. So we get to see all that shit. So all of this footage we get to see, and then we have the documentary crew encounter Sarah again in the Abaddon in room 2C. And they're like, Sarah, are you okay? And Sarah's got her back turned. And that's where she like turns around. She's looking all fucking crazy.
Yeah, when she turns around, she looks all bruised and bloody and dead, and her eyes are like white. And yeah.
Yeah, she attacks like the documentary crew, but then all of these cloaked figures pop up and, they just, I guess, kill them and take their souls.
Yeah, because everybody goes missing, like that's the thing about the Abaddon is like no bodies are ever recovered.
Yeah.
They're never seen from again, any of them.
Yeah.
And
then we go back to this nice archival footage of the team happy in their glory days. And then they're like, there's some like writing and shit about like the mysteries of the Abaddon.
Yeah, have yet to be like uncovered and everything like that. And
yeah, and that's it. But one more scene we forgot to mention is the Google images,
which
on the
are
top.
which are added in the director's cut, not in the theatrical or streamed version.
In the director's cut, you've got the Google Street Cam, of like the Abaddon, and every time, like as the years pass, where like the Google Cam comes through, you could see like what looks to be Alex on the top balcony where the Hell House sign is. So that was like another cool little bonus thing, like there's a ghost in the fucking picture, shit like that. But yeah, so that is Hell House LLC.
Good movie, man. And
great fucking movie.
Yeah.
Great found footage horror. Great like Halloween season watch. Just so good. So good. This one just really sticks with you.
It does, man. That's for sure. There's a lot of creepiness and unsettling and eerie atmosphere, and even the way that they film some of these shots, man, where you see one thing and then the camera moves, for a quick second, then moves back, and then it's like a figure is posed in a different direction, and it's like it's very simple yet effective camera work in this. Just everything about this movie works, in my opinion, man. And
I completely agree.
Yeah, and I'll reference the sequels and stuff, and I made a mention to you about how there's only so many tricks that this pony can do, and I think that for being a 4-film series, the way that they had went and did it was very good. Still remained very effective in all of them. They went a bit of a different direction in part 3, which I definitely agreed with. They did an origin story for part 4 where it kind of wraps everything up that you want to know about this film. And yeah, man, they just did a fucking great job with all 4 of these films. And I know that we're talking about the first one, but it just kind of goes without saying that these films are also good continuing on as well. And the reason why I bring that up is because oftentimes they kind of do fall flat, because in the found footage world, this kind of shit becomes incredibly oversaturated. And I will always champion when writer-directors who do a really good job with the first film continue on with the series. So I'm glad that Stephen Cognetti, remained the main dude for all 4 of these. Otherwise, they could have really went the route that I feel VHS had went, because those are kind of a hit or miss.
Yeah, no, they are. Some are like, I love VHS 94.
Yeah, and I
VHS
understand
viral shit. Yeah, hit or miss, man.
But I understand the intent with the VHS Fest. I understand the intention with VHS, that series, and it's kind of like how I see it is to give young filmmakers something to do, man, like a voice, you know what I mean, a contribution, because the first VHS is fucking incredible.
Yeah,
amazing.
The first one's good,
so good.
I like part 2 the best, especially that satanic cult scene. Or segment. Also, the alien one is very unsettling. I've never been so fucking creeped out by aliens in that sleepover, which I
might
forgot.
Watch those tonight, man. It's kind of been a while since I've watched, and I really want to watch one.
There's an expansion on the alien segment. It's called Kids vs. Aliens, and it's the same director who did Hobo with a Shotgun.
Yeah, that's been on my watch list for a while.
It's a fun one, dude. It's really fun. It's not as creepy as that alien segment, but I definitely say check it out.
Cool.
I'm drawing a blank on the director, but it's the same director as Hobo with a Shotgun.
Okay. Well, I mean, overall, I'll check that out. But yeah, just to close what I was saying about that is, it holds up. All 4 of these movies hold up.
Absolutely.
I definitely think that Hell House LLC should be on everybody's October watch list, or just like check it out overall. It's very well done, man. It's great. It's a really great series, man. And I'm glad that we have it, and I'm glad that we got to sit here and talk about it. And for me, that's just really my final thoughts on it. Good, creepy, eerie, unsettling, slow burn. Really fucking good, man. So I'm going to let you give your final thoughts, because those are mine. I want to hear what you got to say and your rating.
I mean, I agree with you, brother. This is a great found footage horror, a perfect Halloween season watch. So effective, very creepy, whether it's that clown doll, which is one of the most unsettling things. I'm not scared of clowns, man.
No, I'm not scared of clowns either. It could have been anything. That character could have been anything. It could have been a vampire mask, and I still wouldn't have liked, because of what the fuck it was doing. It could have been a baby doll mask. I don't care.
Yeah, sure. But exactly what it was doing. This movie is so effective. It's creepy. It sticks with you. And as the series goes on, more things get explained, and they tie it all together very well. This was a blind watch for me one October on Shudder, and I'm just so happy that I had given it a chance, because the minute I found out that it's supposed to take place in Rockland County, I immediately hit you up. I was like, yo, you got to check this movie out.
Yeah, and that's what piqued my interest on it, So thank you for that, man. You're always putting me on to good shit, dude.
I'm
always.
So grateful this series exists, and I definitely, when I have some extra money to spend, I will be picking up that Umbrella box set.
Yeah, I will too.
I want to own these. They're just so fun to revisit, to get you in the Halloween season mood. They're great. Maybe part 3 not the strongest, but again, the way it ties everything together, it's so good. Especially this first one, which most cases the first one is always the best one, and this, it's again a good slow burn, but not to the point where it's boring. And it doesn't hit you over the head with cheap jump scares, but it peppers in like just enough of that
Right.
while saying, yo, did you catch that in the background? Because like we get to see what they miss, and you're like, no, fuck that.
Yeah.
Those no fuck that moments are what
Or
keep
here we
you
go.
up at night.
Let me fucking here we go. Like something's gonna happen.
Yep.
You know, I feel it. And
The anticipation and the buildup,
Right.
it's so worth it, and it pays off. And yeah, this is just a well done found footage horror film. That's all I really want to say. There's not much I could really complain about.
No, man, me either.
So I'm ready to get him to my rating.
There's no, I really have no dislikes about it. So yeah, I said everything that I had to say before. So, and we yet again agree. So, yeah, what's your rating, brother? What do you rate Hell House?
A solid 8 out of 10.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got its minor flaws, but that's, whatever. It's a low budget found footage horror, but done so effectively well.
Mhm. I'm glad that, after the first film, once Shudder had picked it up, that it started gaining traction and more people started seeing it. And, so they all deserve their flowers, man. They did a great job with it. And I give Hell House LLC 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
So I'm not far off from you.
Yeah.
I still think in the 7s it's a pretty solid flick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, dude, and it's funny too because next year will be the 10th anniversary of the first one coming out.
Okay. Oh,
And-
yeah, 2025.
Yep. And I just think this is one of those series that people will be talking about for years to come.
Yeah, and
it'll
then
be a cult film series.
more people are gonna start watching it as well, and I've recommended it to a bunch of people as well. And it's just
I'm always recommending this.
It's
to
just
people.
solid found footage flicks, man. Like, I want to.
I hope it never gets remade.
No, it won't, man. Have you ever seen Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, the South Korean?
No,
found
I
footage?
haven't, but I saw that you just picked that
Phenomenal,
up,
dude. Yeah, I watched it a couple years ago, and then I picked up the second sight. That's a really fucking good found footage that I would recommend to anybody. And Grave Encounters 1 and 2.
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
second
Grave
one.
Encounters is good.
Grave Encounters is great. I feel like
Is that Ty West?
no.
No, I'm thinking of the Innkeepers. That's
Innkeepers
Ty
is
West.
good, and it's not
Innkeepers
found
is
footage,
good.
but it's good.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Grave Encounters. That's
I don't even know if it's a known director or anybody that like went on to do anything. Let me
Yeah.
look real quick, but I feel like the Gonjiam films are a remake of it, but I'm not for certain on it. No, I mean the Vicious Brothers. Writer,
Yeah, not
editor,
familiar with them.
directors. Grave Encounters, Extraterrestrial, Grave Encounters 2. Watch Grave Encounters 1 and 2. They're really fucking good, man. They're
Yeah, I'll definitely
found
have to
footage
check them
done
out.
well. Just want to say that, but yeah, man, this has been dope. I had a good time today. I had a great time yesterday. I
Yeah.
think that this is going to be a great episode for us for October.
Yeah, I'm definitely again, today's the first day of fall. I am so fucking ready for the Halloween season.
There's still a lot of the day left too, man. We're wrapping up and it's almost 4 p.m. on a Sunday. And yeah, I got some movies I'm gonna watch. I got
Hell yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, we're gonna make dinner as soon
Yeah.
as we wrap up here, and then we are definitely fitting in Hell House LLC Part 2, and then maybe tomorrow we'll watch Part 3, and then I'm gonna officially kick off my Halloween season watch list with Part 4,
Cool.
and then continue on with 31 movies. Yeah,
Yeah,
It's-
I'm gonna
we're
work on my
here.
list.
yeah, we're here. It's the best time of the year, and we are fucking celebrating, and we hope that you could celebrate with us. Let us know what you are watching for October. And are you a fan of the Hell House LLC series? Is this your first time watch? Things like that.
Yeah, fuck yeah. But
Yep.
with all that being said, brother, I think it's time to take us out and we wrap this up.
Sounds good, brother. So the best way you could support Dead with My Friends podcast is by following us on Instagram. We have a YouTube page where you could subscribe. We do have a website at www.deadwithmyfriendspodcast.com. Check out the website for episodes, merch drops, all of the things that you need to find out about the show and what we do is all on that website. We hope you have caught us at Heavy HV Fest and caught all of the awesome bands on the lineup that Andrew Guy booked. We are going to be there vending. That is next weekend upon the time of recording now. So yeah, we hope that you came by, kicked it, shot the shit with us about some horror films, watched some good bands, picked up a shirt. And yeah, we hope that you all have an awesome October and awesome Halloween season. And we look forward to seeing what other people are watching.
Yeah, so drop us a line. Let us know what you're watching. But with all that being said, I am Nick.
And I'm Steve. And we will see you in the next dimension. Happy Halloween.
Peace.